the way you did in front of your foreign university?
Hello everyone, how are you doing?
You're doing good.
So how's it going, everyone? How are you doing in pandemic?
Yeah, everything just switched on to online mode.
All right. So hi, I'm Priyansh, and I have successfully completed my graduation. It was hell of a task to complete the journey online, and we all been suffering through it because of it. So I've been selected to complete my. I have like been shortlisted for a program for postgraduate program abroad, and that's it.
Okay, now I hand over to Shruti.
Yes, so we have Rohan Pipalwa with us. He's going to pursue MSc in marketing from University College Dublin. At Bennett, he represented the university at national level debate competitions, and he was also one of the top students of his batch. Rohan, why don't you introduce yourself in your own words now?
Hey everybody, my name's Rohan. As she said, I've been selected to pursue Masters in Marketing at University College Dublin. So the process of admission was very gruesome. It's especially when the online classes were going, and I had to do everything simultaneously, preparing for all the exams and stuff. So applying to several universities. So it was a tough process, but it has been good. I've been selected, so everything is good now. I hope you all are clear on what you want to do, and I'll try to help you as much as I can.
Thank you, Rohan.
Thank you, Rohan. Now I like to call upon Sejal Bhatnagar, who is an incoming student in University of Texas at Arlington. She is the proud owner of her own startup, which aims to provide guidance and direction to young business managers. She also worked as the brand ambassador at Cisco Networks, and along with that, she is also the founding members of the Marquis Club, and along with that, she is the president of the Astronomy Club at Bennett University. So, Sejal, would you like to add on more to your introduction part?
Thank you, Srishti, for the kind introduction. So, a very good afternoon, everyone. I've been selected in the University of Texas at Arlington for pursuing Masters of Science in Business Administration. And I am a recent graduate of Bennett University. In this session, ask as many doubts as possible and queries that you have on how do you want to study abroad, and especially in the United States, because the system of admissions and everything is a lot different. So I hope the today's session is some sort of a guidance to all of you, and please do ask all questions that you can. Thank you, Shrishti.
Thank you, Sejaldi. Now, Shruti, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, so now presenting Ashish Tuteja, a district level football and basketball badminton player, and he's pursuing MBA in marketing management from University of Greenwich, London. Just like Srishti and I, he was also an executive of placement committee, and we are excited to learn more about his journey. So over to you now, Ashish.
Thank you so much, Shruti. More to my introduction, I don't think I have much more to say. I played a lot in college, did a lot of things in college like normally college people do, and full of ups and downs. And finally, we're done with our graduation. It was online though, but it was not that great. Obviously, we expected a lot more. But now finally it's over, and I hope like if you guys have any questions for your further this thing, I'm there to help you out, especially when it comes to UK. You can ask all the questions you want. I'm right here.
Thank you, Ashish. Now I would like to request Rakesh sir to address us all before we start with the Q&A round.
Thank you, Shruti, and thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you, Priyansh, Ashish, Sejal, and Rohan. Sejal, we have been interacting a lot in the past, but rest of you, we know you only by name, but I'm glad to see all of you here present today to guide your juniors. And I'm equally delighted with your achievements. And this session is a very important session for all of us, reason being for most of our undergraduate students, especially in the BBA program, their aspiration is to pursue master's degree, and especially in colleges, Ivy League colleges in India and abroad. And we would definitely like to understand from all of you, because you have gone through that churn and you know better how to approach if you're seeking admission abroad. So the students who aspire for higher education, and also since these people were the first batch of passing out student, first batch or second batch? Is that 21 or 2020?
Second batch.
This is 2021 or
2021, sir, second batch.
Second batch. So these are early batches, and we still have a long way to go in terms of our learning curves, and this is therefore a very important session. So I once again welcome all of you, Priyansh, Ashish, Sejal, Rohan. Thank you so much for sparing your time and joining us for this very, very important session. In the beginning, when I joined university in 2017, the first agenda in my hand was to see that we have a mechanism in place to ensure that students who are aspiring for higher education have some system process in place, and therefore we introduced GRE GMAT coaching on campus. Unfortunately, because of this pandemic, it's not happening anymore in physical mode. But we were conscious of this fact, and therefore we introduced this in-house facility to all the students. And I remember, in the very first batch, we had close to around 30 students who enrolled themselves into GMAT program, and almost more than 40-45 students enrolled into GRE GMAT program. And we have many students from the first batch as well who have successfully taken admissions abroad. So not taking much time, I will hand over it back to Shruti and Meenakshi, and thank you once again, all of you, for joining us. Thank you.
Okay, now,
over to you, Shruti
and Meenakshi. Now, after the brief introduction of our alumni, I would like to start this webinar by asking my first question to Sejal, Adi, and Priyansh. Now, let's pick up the most sensitive topic first, that is COVID-19. Now, a lot of students have this doubt that should we go for an MBA this year or should we wait? They think that for 1 year they'll take a work experience, till then COVID might go away. And obviously they are not wrong. Somewhere or the other, it is a very sensitive question on seeing this COVID scenario. So my question is that how you overcame this thought of doing MBA right now instead and not taking a drop year? Sejal, you can go first, followed by Priyansh.
Okay, thank you, Srishti. So I believe when we talk about COVID and the situation that is going on, people think that they'll just take a break and have 1 year of work experience. However, I feel that if you really want to pursue masters, a break in your education is not advisable, because you never know, it might continue to another 2 years. So until and unless you're taking work experience of at least 2 years minimum or 3 years, I feel it's not advisable that you take a drop year, because even if COVID, there are a lot of opportunities. So a lot of US universities this year, they had waived off GRE, they had reduced their cutoff. A lot of people could not go to the country and had to switch to online mode. So I feel that the pandemic has its own advantages in terms of admission processes, but just for the sake of it that you might not know, or to overcome the pandemic, taking a work experience, I feel that looking for, hi, I'm sorry, I got cut off. So if your career path is very well charted and you're sure that after 1 year of work experience or 2 years of work experience, you want to pursue it further, then please go ahead. But do not take a job just because of the situations. Yeah.
Thank you, Sejal. Now, Priyansh, would you like to add on anything more?
I totally agree with Sejal with what she said, and I would only suggest you to go for the work experience thing if by any chance you get any obstacles like your documentation and all. So then only I would suggest that you go for work experience. Otherwise, if you have that opportunity, you can get into a university easily. And looking at the situation right now, universities are very lenient with the admissions, and you don't need to even appear for interviews as well. So as long as you have a good background and you've been doing well in your university, then I don't think that you should go for WorkX, and like you can straight away apply. And if you really want to have an background and learn like what goes into an office, then only I would suggest you to go into like an office and take WorkX. Otherwise, like straight away apply, and you can like get an admission in a very good university.
Okay, thank you, Priyansh and Sejaldi, for your insightful thoughts, as it was very well answered. And now I will hand it over to Shruti.
Okay, so the second question for the session is, as business students, we know that to get into foreign B schools, we need to clear GMAT or similar exams. But what's next? Can you tell us more about the admission process in Ireland, Rohan?
Right. So from my experience, I've given GMAT, GRE, TOEFL. I've given every exam. So in Ireland, you don't need GRE or GMAT, to be honest. They don't. They just want to see your English qualification. And I think what matters, what gave me the edge in my admission, was the essays that I wrote, my work experience, the qualifications I had besides my university, because I made efforts to study myself in my own field to show my interests. So I think that really peaked. My interview went really well, so they were pretty much sold on me there. So I think if you want to get into a university abroad, first of all, you really need to show that you have good communication skills. Like especially in an English-speaking country like Ireland, they want to see that you can hold in the environment. They want to see if you can adapt in the environment, because coming from a country like India, you really need to be top of elite of the elite to be able to survive in a new environment. So I think it's your communication skills first, then your qualifications, and whether you're passionate or not, they can make out from your essays, from efforts outside college, if you're doing well. So if you're doing well, they'll select you. Like, it's hard, but it's not as hard as it is made out to be.
Thank you, Rohan. Now, what about you, Ashish? Is there a difference when it comes to B schools in UK?
Oh, am I audible now? Yeah, so
Yes, you are audible.
unlike Rohan, I honestly haven't given GRE, GMAT, IELTS, anything. For me, it was just like a cakewalk, honestly. Mainly, what they looked after is my SOP, because that is the main thing that they want to, because they want to know like what kind of background you come from, and like if you can present yourself in a good way, so that they can actually, the main this thing is your SOP, that's statement of purpose. And the other thing that really helped me was my internship certificate, like the place where I interned. So they initially I applied for marketing course, but they gave me an international business course. But afterwards, when I got my internship certificate and everything, I submitted them and they accepted me for the marketing course. So basically, you just need to keep your uh, grades and your experiences, and like at least till a minimal level with all other college require, because even in Bennett we have a rule that you have to do a social internship in the end of your first year, and a corporate internship in the end of your second year. So if you do all those whatever our college requires, you will get through. And I'm like, that's it, like you don't need to do, like, at least for now, because maybe because of the COVID situation, you don't need to give all the IELTS and everything and even interviews. But when it comes to UK, it is all good for now, at least.
Adding on to what Ashish said, for United States, yes, even I like Rohan, I've given GMAT, GRE, IELTS and TOEFL, both basically all examinations. So the admission process, it's based on your entire profile. So even if you're a 10 on 10 CGPA, they will not look at your only academic credential. See, let's say you have 10 on 10 credentials, on CGPA, but you have nothing to show for it in your internships or your projects or your research papers or your research projects. So that will become a factor of you not getting admission. So you have to maintain a balance between academics and extracurriculars. At the same time, you have to show that passion. So you have to show that why am I in this field? Why have I chosen this career? Why is this particular course in university? So Ashish was talking about SOPs, which are statement of purposes. It is a very, very important factor in United States, and I think so across all countries for your admission process. More than the GRE and IELTS score, they look at your SOPs, because that determines the girl and that determines your credibility, how you're going to survive, and from what enthusiasm or passion you're coming from to pursue that very course. So you cannot just take up anything in your bachelor's, let's say entrepreneurship, and then go to the university and say that I want to master in data sciences. If you're able to explain it and justify it, well and good, but you have to be you have to maintain that professional and academic clearance, that this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be, and this is what I want to achieve in my life. And that is the most prominent factor of how admissions go around in abroad, basically.
Sejal, I have a follow-up question. Sorry to interject, guys.
Yes,
like
sir.
most of you are mentioning that GRE, GMAT, and TOEFL, etc., were not kind of required this time.
Right, sir.
But is that the case every year? Because I have learned that due to pandemic, the criteria are certainly relaxed this time to some extent. But is this the usual situation, or this is a unique situation and therefore there were exemptions?
Yes, sir. So, yes, sir. So you're absolutely correct. So people listening to us, please don't get us wrong. GRE, GMAT, IELTS and TOEFL are extremely, extremely important, and they are important for your visa process and application as well. You cannot file your visa without an IELTS or a TOEFL score or a GRE or a GMAT score, especially for United States. So it was because of this year, the pandemic, the vaccines not being available, the lockdown happening. So you could not go to the centers and give examination. A lot of people did not have a proper internet access at home. So universities decided to relax this criteria of admission. However, they increased the profiling criteria. So this is a one-time situation. Please do not think that all right, I'll be graduating in the next year or next to next year, I will not prepare for GRE, GMAT or IELTS or TOEFL. Please do prepare, because on this criteria your selection happens. It is only this situation, that pandemic, that they have relaxed it. Otherwise it is an imperative criteria everywhere.
Rakesh sir, I would like to add on that. I just said that in Ireland it was not required, but I've applied in 15 colleges and everywhere else it was required. They did not waive off in Europe because my target was Europe. So there was one college that was ranked 4th in my course. I tried there. They didn't like my first GMAT score, so I gave GRE. I scored really well on GRE, but the competition was too tough for me and I got rejected. But I think everywhere TOEFL was always required. An English language test was always required, and it didn't happen with me. Maybe it happened with other guys here, but these tests was always required for me. Ireland was a special case where GRE or GMAT were both not required, so I think I got lucky there because I didn't score well in GMAT. So I think those tests are always required and they will be required because there are good criteria.
All right.
So in my case as well, the GMAT, I was able to these guys waived off GMAT and GRE, but the language exam was not waived off. I gave IELTS and I even gave Duolingo as well.
Okay, when it comes to UK, it's like entirely different, guys, because here they have changed the rules, and if you have scored like more than 75% in your boards exam and in English papers, so they will exempt your IELTS and TOEFL and everything. And if they have a doubt that you're not that good, then you cannot understand the language and the accent and everything, so what colleges do, it is written on your acceptance letter or conditional letter, whatever you get, that you will have to give a test when you reach there. And if you score well, then you don't have to do anything. But if you don't score well, you'll have to take up an English course for probably 2 months, and they'll be it will be free. You won't have to pay extra for it. So it depends country to country. So I think that is where UK differs. It's not compulsory. Maybe it started last year, maybe now, but it is how it is now. Most of the colleges, they don't expect you to give IELTS right now. It's just based on your 12th grades and your what college you come from and your background.
And also, Sejal, if you can help us understand, how important is GRE, GMAT from the point of view of scholarships also, and if you can explain about scholarships also, what criteria, what parameter, somebody who want to avail scholarship, and if they want to do, how should they prepare for it?
Right, sir. So basically, first of all, it goes without saying, have a very, very strong academic record. I will be speaking from, the perspective of United States and my, journey that I have gone into. So your scholarships, if you want a very, very good scholarship, international students find it a bit hard to get scholarship only based on their academic profile. So let's say your undergraduation marks. If you have a very good GRE and a GMAT score, you can definitely apply for some scholarships, some grants, which the university will give you. If you do not have these, so applying for the scholarships can be very, very tricky. So United States is pretty clear. So if you're going for your master's or your graduate admission, the scholarships available to you as an international student are extremely low. But compared to if you're going as an undergraduate in the United States, the competition and the scholarships are easily available for you. So now talking about how do you prepare for it? Because of course, all of us would like to, save some funds and also help our family members and basically fund our education in any way we can. So in the States, they've got this formula for graduate assistantships. Undergraduate assistantships, you will be paired up with a faculty member who will be guiding you, who will be training you for research projects, thesis projects, on-campus placements and all of that. And you will be helping out in that. And at the end of every month, you will be getting some stipend, which will be deducted from your overall tuition fees. So that you can do in terms of reducing your tuition fees there and applying for scholarships. I myself applied for scholarships but was declined because GRE and GMAT criteria were waived off. So to make sure that the platform was even for all international students, they allowed us to pursue graduate assistantships early on. So as of now, being in India, I am pursuing a graduate assistantships which pays me $1,000 every month, which will be directly deducted from my tuitions. So this is how you can go about it in the States. And talking about the next years, we are talking about 2022 admissions or 2023 admissions. Please do take GRE because they're going to be an immense amount of help when you apply for scholarship. They are a simple criteria. They highlight your two very important skills. They highlight your verbal and language skills, and they highlight your statistics and mathematical skills. And these are the parameter in which that the government, United States government, that can say that this person is eligible for XYZ scholarships.
Thank you so much, everyone, for insightful answers. Now, some people have raised their hands, so I would like to ask K. Trinak Satya Saish Reddy to ask his question.
Hello everyone. So my question is that how relevant are internships when it comes to pursuing an MBA abroad?
I think I can answer this, and then probably I'll give it to Rohan because we've done the same amount of internships. So internships are extremely important, as I highlighted in my first, the first half of the series, that you have to maintain a balance between your academic and your professional credibility, so academic and your extracurriculars as well. So if you have internship, it shows that you're passionate about your field. It shows that you have some experience and you have some learning about your field and the career that you want to pursue. So in India, we're all about grades, we're all about marks, but in United States or abroad in general, they're all about how well-rounded you are, what kind of experiences you have. So never shy away from your internships. Get as many internships as possible and make sure that you have a very, very strong portfolio. Over to you, Rohan.
Right. So my opinion is completely different from Sejal from my experience. I don't think internships are any in which way important at all. You can completely skip them if you are pursuing Masters of Science in any way. But if you're doing MBA, then you should get a work experience. I'm talking about Europe, by the way. You should get work experience of at least 2 years if you're trying to pursue MBA, because that's just the basic requirement in Europe. But if you're trying to pursue Masters of Science, it's not important to get any internship. I'm telling you, it's really not important, because I have friends who haven't even went to an office. They haven't seen an office and they've gotten in. So that's not even a criteria if you're pursuing Masters of Science in Europe. So that's my opinion on that.
Thank you so much. It was great to hear such varied opinions from both of you.
Hitesh has also raised his hand, so you can ask your query. Hitesh. Okay, I think he is not available right now.
But I'd like to just clarify one thing. There's these doubts that are coming. So one question was that is it okay if we give only GMAT or GRE instead of doing both? So guys, there are 4 examinations that all of us have highlighted: GRE, GMAT, IELTS, and TOEFL. So basically, if you're talking about countries on Canadian side of the part, so you have to give IELTS and GRE, which that is more recognized there. But if you're talking about Europe and America, so that is GMAT and TOEFL that is recognized there. However, how do you prepare for these is also a good question. There are sample examinations which are there online. So you can sit there, I think so 3 or 4 hours long. You can sit and give a sample examination, and then you can decide which of the examinations are you more comfortable with, which pattern do you like, and then prepare accordingly for it. GMAT, yes, is worldwide recognized and it's more recognized than GRE. However, it's not going to be, it's not that if you give GRE, you will not get admission. You have an equal opportunity to get admission in colleges that you want. And TOEFL and IELTS are again language tests, which are just going to measure your English capabilities, and they're marked differently. So we've got IELTS on a 10 band scale and we've got TOEFL on a 120 scale. That is online. So they have a different in marking, but they're all language examination and all testing your verbal and quantitative abilities.
Hitesh can ask his question now.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, Shruti, and hello everyone. So my question was that we have now less than a year left to graduate. So what would you suggest us to do for, enhancing our profile so that our chances of getting admission in foreign universities are more?
Okay, so right now the only good thing about this pandemic is that we are all at homes and we can do internships. So do as much internships as you can right now, because honestly, at least my experience like internships do matter, because initially with the course I initially accepted for was not the one I intended to, but like when I submitted my internship certificates, the college gave me the course which I was really hoping to get in. So internships are a plus point. Like if you are not, if your grades and academically you're not that strong, so doing internships like proves that you can do work, and like because and letter of recommendations are also like really important. For me, I had to give 2 letter of recommendations from the college. So do keep in check if your college, if like the country you're going to, and like if they if they require a letter of recommendation, because they really help you out with your application process, honestly.
Right,
Thank you so
and
much.
adding to Ashish's point, I think that's like extremely important. I mean, if you're coming to the States, if you're talking about how do you build your profile, so it's not about internships only. It can be research papers, it can be projects, anything that you take up in your undergraduation is all counted there. And of course, your letter of recommendations and your SOPs still remain a very important part. But your profile building should also be credible. So please don't put any irrelevant internships there. For example, you put you're from a technical background and you put a non-technical internship which is not at all related to your field. So make sure that your portfolio exactly says what it should and it relates to your stream. And it's not only about internships. As you can see, Rohan had a different experience altogether. I have a different experience with my profiling, and so does Ashish. So to make sure, that you have a balance and you don't, miss out on any opportunities, just make sure you put relevant internships, your research projects, your presentations, or anything that you have undertaken in your undergraduation.
Thank you, Sejal. Now there is another interesting question in the chat box. Yes, Chaudhary has posted. So I would like to ask all of you, how did you choose your college and the country that you're going to pursue masters in? We can start with Priyansh.
Yeah, sure.
So in my case, it was like I already have my relatives settled abroad, so so it was like very easy to shortlist the country. The hard part is like to shortlist where you want to go. So it totally depends on you. Where do you feel comfortable? Where do you think like your personality can have the most growth. That's the main point. And I guess at the end of the day, जहाँ पर भी आपको आपका career you think that can flourish at the best, you should consider that place only. So follow your passion. That's it. That's the main goal, I guess.
I completely agree with Priyansh. I also have this. I don't have any I have a relatives. I mean, in the United States, but my country of choice was United States and Canada. So Canada being extremely beneficial to immigrants. You know, it's a country of immigrants only, and United States being the land of opportunities. So I had a contrast in both. However, when it came down to the course and the curriculum and what degree I was being offered, the choice was obvious, which was Masters of Science in Business Analytics at Arlington. And I chose this particular universities because first of all, it's a land grant university. So a land grant university, it's basically a government held university. Like we've got DUs and everything. So it's that precious there in United States. And that will, you know, whatever happens, even a pandemic comes, the funding of these universities never stops. So the research project as an analyst and a data science student, I will have a lot of opportunities here. So this is how I shortlisted my colleges. And more importantly, there is a process there. So talking, you know, in general, whichever country you're going. So this was one thing that was taught to me by my peers who are in Texas right now, my seniors, in fact. So they told me that all your colleges should be on your finger. So we've got 3 colleges that will be your dream colleges. Let's say MIT, Harvard, Salt College, or Dartmouth, any college. The rest 4 will be your safe colleges. Safe colleges as in that you know that you will get an admission here. This is your safe college. You can easily sail through. And the last 3 colleges will be your backup colleges. That if you do not get in any college, in these 6 colleges, these 3 colleges, you will apply and you will get through. So this is how I structured. I also have 10 colleges. I can count them on my finger. And then I started shortlisting that, you know what, these are my colleges and this is where I want to be. You can also, if you do not, you know, if you're very, very confused, there's abundance of knowledge available there and so many social media sites. So what you can do is you can always tie up with counselors. So we've got counselors for America, we've got counselors for Canada, Ireland, Europe, everywhere. And they will help you select your colleges on the basis of your profile. So that is another way to go about it.
Okay, so in my case, like just Sejal said, that you know you keep one college and like the rest of your safe option. So for me, University of Greenwich was like my safe option. But when I got into the other colleges, I applied for Coventry University and University of Oxford Brookes. I got in all of them, but you know when I had the acceptance letter in my hands, all 3 of them, so I was like, I gave it a thought, everything from fees to the course structure to the city, because honestly, Greenwich is like almost in the heart of London, so like it's almost in the main city. So being in a country's capital is like, I think, the best way to go about it. And plus this course structure. So basically in my course, I have 1 year is my studying, and the second year I have this professional practice here. Basically, I'll get an internship. So and it'll be a paid internship. So mostly they say that you'll cover your whole entire tuition fee in the second year. So that is one of the reasons why I went for Greenwich. Instead of Coventry, even though Coventry had a really good ranking, like if you look at it, Coventry is a really good college, but still I went for Greenwich because of the course. So and mainly the city went, and because it's in the main city. So lot of factor depends, and honestly it's on your this thing as well, like where you want to go.
Thank you so much, you all. It was very insightful. Also, the way Sejal demonstrated, it will be very helpful for us to shortlist the universities. Now there is another question from Pranjal. He has been raising his hand for a while now. So Pranjal, can you please ask your question now?
Good afternoon to all. I have a question to all the seniors present here, that if we want to pursue fresh MBA after the graduation from abroad, are these colleges good enough to provide placements and in considering ROI? Because I have been hearing and researching that after having an experience of 2 to 5 years, then only we can get a good college. Measuring them with these bases, will it be convincing that if we can pursue this fresh MBA after graduation?
See, I like to answer this. Don't pursue MBA right after your PBA. if you're going abroad, that is. Because first of all, the best colleges which offer you MBA, which will give you your ROI, they need work experience. And when you need and if the colleges that don't need work experience, and if they're good, they're probably offering you a Masters of Science. So please, if you're going to go for abroad for MBA, get a work experience of at least 2 years, and then go for a good college. Because if you're going abroad, then choose a good one, right? That will give you a good ROI. Why are you wasting your money? Take a good college, get a good ROI, and have a secure future.
I have a contrasting view to Rohan's. I mean, I have a different opinion and experience in terms of ROI and colleges. So basically, see, if you're from a business background, I suggest that don't go for an MBA until and unless you're extremely sure that this is what you want. Because in my opinion, MBA is just a specialized repetition of your BBA. And that is why I went into Masters of Science in Business Analytics. So if you know that you're wanting to pursue something and you have that one thing, let it be HR or finance, don't do MBA, because that's going to be a generalization. And yes, as Rohan said, if you want good colleges like Harvard, MIT, Sloan School of Management, and so on, Duke and Oxford and all of that, please do take work experience. However, if you're going for Masters of Science, which is a STEM designated course, you do not need work experience. I am from the STEM background as well, and I have gotten in MS in Business Analytics. So I feel in my university, the average placements that happen is from $94,000 to $100,000, which even if you take at the lower range, easily you will, after your placements, if you have good connections, you will be earning around 60 to 70 lakhs per annum in INR currency. And if we convert that into your dollar system there, so on an average, $5,000 will be your starting salary, which is close to 3 lakhs to 4 lakhs in Indian currency conversion. So in terms of your ROI, you need to be extremely careful of your finances there, and and you have to see that what is the average placement of your university. So you have to see that already this university is giving me an average of $60,000 to $70,000. However, this university is offering me an average of $94,000 to $100,000. So it depends on that only. I have absolutely no work experience. I've graduated and I'll be starting my master's in August as well. So for United States, please do an MS degree. Do not do an MBA degree. And one more advantage that most of the students in India don't know about is the importance of STEM. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? So in that, if your course is certified under STEM, you can stay in the United States for 3 years as an optional training period. Now, in that time, when you have finished your masters, you can stay and work in the United States without being, deported. What happens generally is that once your degree is finished, if you do an MBA, you will go until and unless you find a company which sponsors you. But if you have an optional training period, you can be there, you can, work, choose not to work also, and basically 3 years security practice there. So that is what STEM offers you. Plus, if you're going for a STEM degree, it will any day offer you higher placement and a higher rate of interest than compared to an MBA degree. I myself was applying for an MBA degree, but these criteria were too good to pass up. So I opted for an MS degree and I'm extremely satisfied with it.
Thank you, Sejal, Lee, and Rohan, for asking for clearing the doubts of the students. Now I'll ask you that, can you share your opinion about the freshers who are willing to do the MBA just after the undergraduation in BBA? Like, what gives the edge to work experience? People hold the edge over the freshers who are doing the MBA?
They hold a very big advantage. Let me tell you that. Like, if you apply without work experience for an MBA, first round, no interview, you're out. That's a short answer I can give you.
Yeah, agree totally. If you're doing MBA directly after your undergraduation, whether it be in India or abroad, you're out. Even in abroad, they look at a maximum work experience of at least 4 to 5 years. Now, Sloan School of Management, which is under MIT, offers at least 4 years of minimum work experience for you to be eligible to even apply to their program. They have this also system where you can apply right now, but your classes will start once you complete your 4 years of work experience. So it's extremely important that if you're going for a traditional MBA and you're very sure that this is what you want to do, then you have to take your work experience and then go. The advantages are immense. And even if you look up IIMs, you know, they have this system, they've got this bracket. If you go their admission policy, they have this weighted system. So 10% is to your class 10th, then 20% is to your class 12, then you've got, you know, 50% to your bachelor's, then another 40% is given to your, you know, work experience, and then your master's. So this is the criteria of admission even in IIMs. So a huge amount of benefits to the people who have work experience. However, this is contrasting if you talk about MS. So for MS, as I said, no work experience is required, but for MBA, please do take work experience. The edge is immense. You stand outside of the crowd then.
Sejal, I have a question. I'm Naushad here. What options do you have in mind when you took up MS in science? Can you give us the best options that you had apart from data science?
Right. So I had MS in marketing analytics. I had MS in finance. I had MS in data science and machine learning. Then I had business analytics, which is my course. Then I also had MS in human resource strategies, which was offered by University of, I think so, IIT Chicago. And then there were many, I think so there was one in MS in economics as well, economic statistics. So these are some of the courses that are available. However, of course, they vary as per the universities. So in some universities, you can find, for example, MS of marketing analytics. In some universities, you cannot. I was personally wanting to go for marketing analytics, but it was not available at Texas, University of Texas, this Arlington. It is available in Dallas, however, and Houston. But in Arlington, it was not available. So I opted for business analytics, which will take me down to the same road. So it depends on your colleges. You know, you just have to look what subjects and courses that they offer, especially for the states.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
Well.
Thank you, Dee. Now, Khushi and Pranjal are willing to ask their question. So, Khushi, you can go first.
Hi, hello everyone. So I had a question from you all. I wanted to know, how did you review your colleges in terms of how good is their placement, how quality education they are providing? Because even I wanted to apply abroad and I've been looking at many colleges, but you know, it's like सामने सामने सब देता है अच्छा, but how do you know their honest review about them? So that is what I wanted to ask.
I'll give you my how I did it. So I went to the CUES website, that's called the CUES World Rankings, and look at the course rankings which you want to pursue, right? Because those are the ones that matter. So do the rankings, they'll give you from 1 to 50, and generally I'll recommend you to stick to 50. You don't want to go much lower because then the value starts dropping. So just segregate them into the ones where you are likely to go, like countries which you will be safe to go in, and then by courses by which you want to pursue, and then by curriculum which you think are the best ones for you, that are catered for you. Because there are two types, like there can be two MSCs in marketing, right? But you may only like the one of them, right? So choose the one which you like more. I mean, there's not much difference in ranking between 17 and 22. There's a huge gap in 1 and 22, but not in 17 and 22, right? So 4, 5, it doesn't matter. So just stick to those rankings, because all those top 50 universities, they're extremely elite of the elite. So you can trust those rankings because they do it every year. They're official. So you can trust those rankings, and you can go to their websites. You can see the reviews. You can see the statistics. You can see on websites, third-party websites, and they will tell you that those first top 50 top 50 universities, they're elite.
Yeah, I think that's the best way. I mean, the ranking system is your sure shot and your go-to way to get, you know, university rankings for that. So now rankings can be in terms of anything, but make sure that, you know, of course, do not go below the 50 mark. Let's say if your finances, or if, you know, you're not finding, you know, these courses, maximum, I would say that stretch it to about 100, but that is also stretching it way too much. So cap your limits at 50, go to third-party websites, and as what Rohan said, basically, you have a lot of, you know, students of their university making videos and, you know, review pages. You've got these online companies which make reviews of these, you know, colleges on how good they are, what are the placement, what were the average placements, and then you can compare the data accordingly. So I feel that is the most best way for you to make sure that this is the college for you based on the rankings and the course that they provide.
Just I have one more little thing to add. Just don't, like, even if the ranking is too high, like For example, I got into Warwick and it was ranked 6th in my course, and the one I am going to is ranked 22 in my course. But just don't get stuck up on the rankings, okay? Because always that ranking is not always the deciding factor. Because I went to the reviews of Warwick and they were not good. Many Indians had terrible experience at that place. So please go through a thorough research. Don't get stuck up on one factor, right? See which university is best for you, see what curriculum is best for you, and then choose, because rankings are not everything. Just stay in the top 50, you'll find good ones.
And the best way is don't search on Google the top 10 schools in Ireland or top 10 schools in, Europe or anything like that. Make sure you search it by the course. So what even I did, like everybody else also here did, we put up our courses and we searched that best courses in universities, what are offering. So Arlington ranks 3rd in research and 1st in Texas overall for their placements in business. Like their business school of business is extremely, recognized overall state. So these were my factors. I also got into IIT Chicago, which I was starting earlier. So I did not take that. Now it is better ranked than Texas Arlington, and it has better opportunities. But the thing was, the reviews again were not too great, and not only Indians but international students were complaining of the facilities that they were providing there. So of course that was an obvious factor that I will not be going there. So make sure that you take into all the things, because even if you graduate from, let's say, a school that doesn't rank so well, but you have done well, you will get good placement opportunities. Not everyone gets placed into, Google if they have done it from Harvard. People from other colleges also you do it. So as Rohan said, do not take this ranking criteria, but surely use it to have an overall insight of the college, make a bundle of it, and then you can realize that this is better and this is not better.
Thank you, Rohan, Sejal, Dia, and Rohan. Yeah. Now, Pranjal is also waiting in the lobby to ask a question. So, Pranjal, you can ask.
Thank you. If we want to come back to India, will these masters be applicable in India? Or in simple words, can we get a job after doing an MBA or a master degree from abroad?
Yes, you can. But the question is, why would you want to come back to India then? So basically, you've got a lot of opportunities there, and people who go abroad, technically speaking, they want to get placed there because of the higher rate of interest and the salary that you start off with. The salary that you start off with in US or anywhere else is going to be greater than what you get in your home country, India. Now, yes, you can of course come back, but you have to take in consideration your financial situation as well. So for US, it's going to, for 2 years, I'll just give you a ballpark figure. It's going to take you around, 40 lakhs. Now, let's say you invest those 40 lakhs in dollars in that country, and then you come back to India and you start off by earning, let's say 20 lakhs per annum. And on top of that, if you have taken a loan, so you need to take in consideration the EMIs that will be going, the interest rate, how will you be paying that off? So a lot of factors are there. And especially, yes, it is extremely applicable. All degrees are applicable in India. They're recognized. So there is no issue of that, but you have to then work towards finding a job as well. So make sure that the job that you have compensates what you've invested into any abroad country. So I think so that is the most important factor that you need to consider. Apart from that, I don't think anybody should be worried about, the credibility of the degree. So even if you do it from Ireland or if you do it from, Europe or London, Toronto, anywhere, the degrees are applicable. Oh, applicable and recognized. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you. Now we will start closing the session because it's a 1-hour session and otherwise we will exceed time. So now I will hand over to Meenakshi. And if you guys still have any questions, audience, you can probably reach out to these people via LinkedIn, or you guys can provide your contacts later at the end of the show.
Okay, now I would like to ask Rakesh sir if he want to share some words about the webinar and alumni.
Yeah, certainly. So I think very insightful session. I was completely zapped with the kind of information you guys have shared at this platform. I think a lot of hard work and research has gone into into it, certainly, for sure. And that's what got reflected also while you were deliberating. I'm happy with this discussion, and as Srishti, Shruti and Meenakshi mentioned, those who have queries, they can still reach out. They are your seniors, you can reach out to them. I'm sure they'll be happy and eager to help you, right? And we look forward to many more such sessions. Maybe Rohan, Sejal, Ashish, Meenakshi, sorry, Priyansh, we might like to invite you after a gap of some more time, right? Because we have kind of advanced these activities, and now we're engaging even the junior most batches. So we would seek your help again in conducting such sessions. Hopefully you will spare some time and come over once again. Thank you so much once again, and thank you Meenakshi, Srishti, Shruti and Gaurav for putting up this session. This was really helpful for every one of us. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. That was a very interesting and insightful session. Although there were many points to take out from this session, I would like to re-emphasize on the things which were priceless for the audience sake. The first one will be how communication skills and balance between academic and co-curricular activities are important for the placements. Then experience of 2 to 3 years will be great to get MBA placements at renowned universities, which is the contrast for MSc. Building our profiles through internships and other project works will really help us to stand out from the crowd. So yeah, I would like to thank all of the 4 alumni for taking time out and coming here, joining us to give their insights and sharing their experiences with their juniors and helping the juniors to pave their path for their future. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank Rakesh sir and Gaurav sir. This session wouldn't be possible without you, sir. And lastly, I would thank all the students and my friends who are very interactive in the session. Thank you, guys. And yeah, I'm concluding the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Meenakshi, and all of the panelists. You've been great. Please do reach out to us if you have any more queries. You can catch my LinkedIn. You just type Sejal Bhatnagar, is gonna come there. It's written Bennett University, so it'll obviously show you that I'm an alumni there. And anyone here today has any questions about admission in the States and how do you go on with the procedures, visa procedures, and all of that, reach out to me, and I'll surely be helping you out with a lot of queries.
Thank you, Sejal.
Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon.
Thank you.